am standing here today at the Musée d'Art Moderne Grand Duc Jean in Luxembourg City, Luxembourg, looking at the installation Darkytown Rebellion by Carl Walker. This installation was created in 2001 with cut paper and projection on wall. The artist Carl Walker was born in Stockton, California in 1969. Her father, Larry Walker, was an artist and a chair of the art department at the University of the Pacific in Stockton. She is an African-American artist that was raised in Atlanta and received her bachelor's degree at the Atlanta College of Art. She then got her master's degree at the Rhode Island School of Design. She began her career in painting, expanded into film, and created many works on paper. Walker has been especially known for her silhouette works that depict themes of slavery, race, violence, and sexuality. She uses her art to confront depictions of race in popular culture. Most of her works show life for African Americans before and after the Civil War. Darkytown Rebellion takes up a 37-foot wide corner in a gallery. This work depicts a slave rebellion and massacre through over a dozen characters portrayed by black silhouettes on the wall. The silhouettes were made of black construction paper waxed directly onto the walls. The work is also unique in its use of overhead projectors that project colors onto the wall to heighten the surreality of the scene. The nightmarish scene takes place on one plane and does not fall short in displaying the many painful bodily functions that occurred. Some examples include one man standing over his own bleeding severed limb with bones jutting out from his hip, another man rolling on his back with another cut-off limb, and a woman with a bonnet and voluminous hoop skirt attacking a baby on its back with a long instrument. The work is able to portray the awful truths of slavery, and it unleashes many horrors while attracting the viewer at the same time. The African-American figures depicted are stereotypical and even like caricatures. Caricatures are a picture, description, or imitation of a person in which certain striking characteristics are exaggerated in order to create a comic or grotesque effect. The work reflects on the historical representation of African Americans in American visual culture and how that shapes stereotypes, and it brings up conversations about if these images have stayed in the past or are still present today. The stereotypical features of the African American figures contrast with the tight, cramped features of the white people also displayed. The work forces viewers to confront stereotypes because it is necessary to differentiate between the different races in order to understand the story. This is done using the stereotypes depicted due to the lack of detail and further identification in the silhouette forms. A silhouette is an image in a single color that is a cut or painted outline of a form. The use of silhouettes as portraits lead to a loss of all of the subject's facial features except the outline of the forehead, nose, mouth, and chin. The images and stories used in this installation were taken from slave narratives, minstrel shows, advertising memorabilia, and Harlequin romance novels. The work includes a blending of facts and fiction. Because the installation includes overhead projectors, the viewer's shadows is reflected onto the wall with the rest of the scene on the same plane. The viewer is forced to confront the connection with slavery's past and its continuing impact through racism in America even today. The shadows and lights also create a cinematic experience for the viewer, and they are engaged in the work instead of just viewing it from afar. This creates a far more intimate experience, and the viewer can enter into the world of art. Walker was inspired by an anonymous landscape she found in a book called American Primitive Painting. The title was Darkytown, which then inspired the name of her installation. She took the figures from this serene painting and put them with other figures of her creation in this scene of rebellion, a much harsher reality. This work can connect to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. because one can see the reflection on the wall along with the names and experience the work by walking along it. Similarly, Darkytown Rebellion projects the shadow of the viewer onto the wall with the narrative. It also connects to En la Barberia No Se Llora because they are both installations that the viewer can walk through in a more intimate experience. Finally, it connects to Tomb of Draconium because both works include images directly on the wall surfaces. Carl Walker created a very complex work that confronts racial stereotypes and depictions in popular culture today. The work openly speaks on America's awful history of racism and slavery while providing an immersive and cinematic experience for viewers.